So we've talked a bit about Microsoft's strategy going into this next generation with the Series X, the Series S, xCloud, and then Game Pass right in the middle, kind of tying everything together. But that means that they need to have consistent output for games of all genres, crossing over for all different audiences. They need a lot of output going forward, and that's why they continue to pick up studio after studio. Picking up ZeniMax was massive. That obviously bolstered their entire lineup very, very quickly, overnight even. But there is still one section that they seem to be missing, and Phil Spencer even brought it up in an interview, and it's something I've said a few times now where they missed out big time on an opportunity that they had for this section of Game Pass and their overall games lineup. I'm going to talk a little bit about that here today. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button. It does help out a lot. And if you're new to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Some really cool stuff coming up. That's what I'll tell you there. Let's go over to Game Reactor. And they asked Phil Spencer in an interview, are you content with the current lineup now, or is there a chink in the armor somewhere? A certain genre, a certain type of studio that you feel is still missing? Now, in response to that, Phil Spencer said, if we look at what people are playing on Xbox, what Game Pass subscribers are playing, I think what is missing from our portfolio is casual content with a broad appeal. E-rated content, to use an ESRB rating, is not a strength for us. We obviously have Minecraft, and we have some other franchises, but when I think about expanding the creative palette that our teams have, I think that is critically important. Now, he goes on a bit further to talk about new projects that they have, new games, Starfield, for example, new IP, all of that, Compulsion, their next game, but kind of pointing out the idea that, yeah, you know what? Having some E-rated games and continue to bring those out as well would probably help to bolster the lineup that we have for Game Pass, because it is trying to be this broad service. It's trying to appeal to basically everyone. And E-rated games, of course, generally will sell pretty well if they are good and will appeal to everyone. I mean, really, Minecraft, like he mentions it here. A lot of people still don't even look at Minecraft as a Microsoft product still, because it's been on other platforms. It existed before Microsoft picked them up. So naturally, they don't really tie like Minecraft to Microsoft like they do Halo or Gears of War, for example. Issue there is, for the most part, Halo, while Halo 5 was teen-rated, has always been a mature-rated game, and on the side of Gears of War, that's obviously a mature-rated game. Even something like Fable, which is making a return, also a mature-rated game, and that's the thing with Xbox currently, is they certainly appeal more to the mature audience, as opposed to having an equal or at least a halfway decent lineup ready to go for even the younger gamers. Now, they of course have racing games like Forza, and racing games in general are by default usually E or E10. It's a racing game. Usually you don't even get out of the car half the time. You just drive around, and that's good. That's at least something there to have. But keep in mind, Phil Spencer mentions being more creative here with some of the different things that they would like to do for these E-rated games. And I have to say, like, they missed out on a massive opportunity, because they do have some IPs that would work with this. And you know what I'm about to say. They missed out massively on Banjo-Kazooie. They just did. Like, when they added Banjo-Kazooie to Smash, the internet exploded. Like, it was wild. Even with, like, Steve, of course, that, like, shut down Twitter, it seemed. But Banjo was up there, too. And those are two things for Microsoft. Minecraft, at least they have an option to play that. They keep coming out with new content. It's consistently advertised. It continues to sell in Japan. That is all well and good. But Banjo-Kazooie has been, like, they've been dormant for a while. Yes, they did, of course, take the N64 games and move them onto the 360, and that's, like, the best way to play it. Through backwards compatibility, even right now on Game Pass. Fantastic way to do it. But we should have a game other than Nuts and Bolts to play right now that is the most recent game. Like, that's kind of sad if you think about it. And if they were at least aware of the popularity of Banjo-Kazooie, they wouldn't have let that slip by. Now, I still think they could do that. They could take Banjo-Kazooie, bring that up, and have a new game, and it would be like a 3D platformer, of course, for Microsoft, something that they do lack, if you think about it. That would be a good way to get things rolling with these E-rated games for Game Pass. Now, fortunately for platformers, they do have Ori. That's a fantastic franchise to have, but 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie would be just something else to add. And keep in mind, they also have Viva Pinata. that would be good to have as well. I mean, they have it through backwards compatibility. I get that. But these are older games. If they started creating some newer ones for like next generation, as an example, I'm sure they could do some really cool stuff with it. And that's kind of what I hope Phil Spencer is thinking more about. Taking IPs that exist now and come up with creative ways to present them for next generation. That's one of the biggest reasons Nintendo continues to evolve their current IPs. They keep adding value to them with new games, but they present them in different ways. They put different spins on them, and they keep them relevant for the current times. It's just like they've taken Mario and evolved him for decades now, to where Mario Odyssey comes out, massive seller. Same with The Legend of Zelda, continues to evolve. If Microsoft sat down and looked at some of their E-rated games like a Banjo-Kazooie, like Viva Pinata, like Blinks, do something with Blinks, and got creative with it, you know what? They wouldn't have this need on Game Pass, and I feel like they would kind of sit back and feel a lot better about their mature-rated games, around their teen-rated games, and yes, even about their E-rated games. I guess the one good thing here is Phil Spencer seems to recognize this issue with their overall first-party lineup with E-rated games, and that if they are trying to bring in, as he says, 2 billion gamers, there's going to be a lot of gamers who want to play with their family or maybe have kids that they want to play with, and having these games on Game Pass on their Xbox would keep them from necessarily having to leave that environment, that ecosystem that they want to keep people in, to find these games that they can play with their family. Because otherwise, they're going to go to the Switch, which has an awesome lineup of games that you can play with your family very, very easily. I mean, the whole system is built around being a more social environment where you have the split Joy-Cons that, of course, you can take and give to another person. They can play. And it's just, Nintendo has this all figured out. And Microsoft is like on the complete opposite end, where they have a lot of the mature-rated stuff figured out, but they have to figure out how to kind of build on the opposite end with the E-rated games. But they have the IPs. That's the thing that gets me. You got Viva Pinata, you got Blinks, and Banjo-Kazooie, obviously. So I do hope that we do get a Banjo-Kazooie eventually, and I think it would do pretty well. In fact, I think they could advertise and build that up big time and actually have a good day on Game Pass for signups, and even launching with physical copies, because I would buy one immediately. But let me know what you guys think about this, and let me know if there are any dormant Microsoft-owned franchises, because they own a lot of them. You can go through and look at them. If there are any that you think they could either revive that already was E-rated, or maybe even one that was teen-rated that they could take and be like, okay, let's make an E-rated version of this game because it's already popular enough, and that way we can push and kind of hold up that end of Game Pass as well. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.